We kick off this two-part Season 7 finale with O'Neill shaving and working on a crossword puzzle. Now that is some manly multitasking. It's interrupted by a call from Daniel, who's already at the SGC, translating some stuff another team brought back. And it points to another repository of knowledge, the thing that grabbed O'Neill's head in the fifth race, which gave him incredible understanding of the universe.
Up, down, charmed, blank.
Strange.
Yeah. No, thanks anyway.
But obviously things have changed. Meanwhile, in Washington, D.C., Dr. Elizabeth Weir, during a brief period when she dyed her hair blonde, is on her way to see the president when this Russian guy tries to steal her cab, apparently on the assumption it's Ukrainian. Luckily, a limo arrives to pick her up. Unluckily, Vice President Kinsey is in it. He's here to brief her on the Stargate program.
Is this a joke? What is it?
A note from the president.
Man plans ahead, I give him that. Speaking of eye-raising, it wasn't until now that I noticed that apparently the actual Air Force Chief of Staff is in this story, the second part. I don't think it added to the verisimilitude to discover the person in the blue uniform was not actually an actor. I'm very worried that the only possible reason he might be in here is to make sure that the show about aliens isn't spilling anything that they actually know is true about the aliens. Anyway, O'Neill is running late because he's been sitting in his truck finishing up the crossword puzzle, slowing down the mission that Daniel was talking about. That's a problem because the team has seen Gould recon crafts scoping the place out, so delaying is giving them time to decide what to do about the repository of all knowledge.
Why wouldn't we want to gain access to the greatest repository of knowledge in the known universe? Once and for all find the lost city of the ancients and use their advanced technology to save the entire galaxy from the evil oppression of the Gould.
Well, there's that.
They gradually recount the events of the fifth race, but there's a wrinkle this time, besides the fact the bad guys probably want it too. The Asgard have been out of communication lately. Not sure what's happening with them, but they obviously have their own problems and won't be able to pull our fat out of the fryer if we screw this up. But all Daniel wants to do is extract the device itself rather than download it into someone's head. Important since Anubis has been displacing the control of the other system lords, making Earth more vulnerable to attack. A defense is needed, and this might give it to us. And that's worth any risk, even if it might possibly lead to babbling in Latin. So our heroes, with SG-3 and 5 as backup, head to this planet to find out how to save the world. Again. It takes a while, but eventually Daniel activates something that causes the head grabber to appear on the wall, so that's a step forward. Though don't take an actual step forward on account of it's going to grab your head. But there's another wrinkle. Anubis' forces have arrived and are sending down gliders. Hope you all work well under pressure. O'Neill is like, fine, we have to go, but if they do, Anubis will get the repository. So he straps some C4 to the wall to blow it up. But then he's reminded that if he does that, they'll never find the lost city and have no way to beat Anubis when he inevitably comes to Earth. So Jack practically throws up his hands asking what the hell he's supposed to do, until it's obvious what he's supposed to do. Daniel wants to stick his head into the thing this time, but O'Neill stops him, saying that it can't be him, otherwise no one will be able to translate what it says. And Tilt can't do it. It won't work on a Jaffa. And Carter can't do it. Someone needs to guess what crazy super science thing is being done. His is the only head left. It's process of elimination. So he gets his head grabbed and is carried back while Carter blows up the repository just to be sure. Then they all get the duck out of Fudge. They explain that it was deliberate this time. They didn't have any other choice with the Gould breathing down their necks. What's probably going to happen is going to be just like last time. Give O'Neill a chance to learn what he needs to learn in order to find the lost city, save the world, and then he'll,
Pay the piper, reach the pearly gates, start pushing up daisies here and there.
What he said. Back at the White House, Dr. Weir has spent the day reading some of the files from the Stargate program, and in the evening she finally has a one-on-one with the president himself. He's impressed with her career brokering sensitive international treaties and that she speaks 5 languages. She's the perfect civilian head to put at the top of the Stargate program. Oh yeah, she's got a chance to be the new boss. As the president puts it, it's just too dangerous to ignore what's going on out there, but it's too dangerous to just leave it all in the hands of a man who accidentally stumbled into a head grabber and then went back and did it again on purpose. I mean, you can see why that sounds bad out of context, can't you? Well, she's skeptical.
I'm betting other world leaders are pressuring you for control.
See, I knew you were a quick study.
And I can advise you there. But I am not qualified to negotiate with aliens.
No one is, Doctor.
Except maybe Patrick Stewart. On the way out, Dr. Weir is intercepted by Kinsey, who tells her to be careful who she trusts when it comes to the Stargate. And whatever she does, she better make sure she's on his side. You know the expression, never cross the vice president, right? No, of course you don't know that expression. Nobody gives a shit. What are you going to do, Kinsey? Break a tie vote at us? Show up to commemorate a bridge? Greet the ambassador from Malta? Yeah, go give my regards to Dan Quayle. Meanwhile, since it takes a few days for the brain infusion to take effect, Hammond gave O'Neill some time to go home, get his affairs in order, that good stuff. Carter stops by his house, though.
It's funny, really. I was out driving, in my car.
And next thing I know, I'm driving an ice cream truck and a very angry man was chasing me and screaming in Portuguese. They have some beers and shoot the breeze uncomfortably, until O'Neill makes clear that Carter is too valuable to sacrifice to the head grabber. Her knowledge has helped save the world more than once. Best not to cause that brain to implode, I say. Soon Daniel and Teal'c arrive as well, and Teal'c has brought donuts. This party is looking better already. Meanwhile, Anubis is quite annoyed about the failure with the repository, and his handful of Cull warriors massacre the Jaffa here, just in case you weren't sure if he was a bad boss. And speaking of which, O'Neill is trying to convince the others that Mr. Burns on The Simpsons is a Goa'uld, but no one seems to be buying it. Before Jack can really make his case, the debate gets called on account of Hammond, but he's not here to spend quality time with O'Neill before the end. Rather, it's to inform him of the developments with Dr. Weir. He's being relieved of command, and she's going to be taken over. Before tempers can flare too much, he says that he actually does know the new president, that he's a good man, and Hammond might be able to do some good in Washington, being much closer to the president. Maybe make him understand that O'Neill's kind of a ticking clock right now. Right now, that'll be the discretion of Dr. Weir, though, so hopefully she'll be open-minded.
Amazing, isn't it?
I don't really care.
Off to a good start. She's actually on the phone. We're rapidly approaching Better Call Saul timeline for earpiece technology. It's still something of an uncomfortable conversation. Daniel may respect her work, but Dr. Weir is replacing someone who's had their back for 7 years. And her own early history was as an activist against the military.
I'm going to start by examining the mandate for this program.
Don't underestimate the immediate threat.
No, I'm not. But this country's history of manifest destiny cannot continue out to the rest of the galaxy.
Hey, I'm not saying that everything that's been going on around here is right. I mean, we have no right to play God, but neither do the Goa'uld.
Yeah, I'm worried about government overreach, don't get me wrong, but I can firmly get behind stopping aliens who want to enslave us. Call me an imperialist if you will, but I support extending our influence if it will stop the alien-induced genocide. Their debate is interrupted by the arrival of Braytek, who is confused at the sight of a new person in charge. The fact that this could all just change all of a sudden seems he's not familiar with the idea that the organization that has been rallying a coalition against galactic oppressors has, as its leader, whoever is best capable of avoiding riding around in a tank looking like a jackass. Braytek explains that things are bad. Anubis has been gathering his forces for an assault on Earth and will be here in 3 days. And we can't just turn off the lights and pretend we're not home. That's not going to work again. In Washington, the president has a one-on-one conversation with Hammond, explaining why he had to do this, but he wants to keep him nearby for his expertise. Having someone like Hammond with first-hand knowledge of the problems out there could make all the difference in a crisis. And speaking of crisis...
just don't know when to leave.
One has just walked in. Dr. Weir's proximity to Kinsey doesn't help the others accept her any faster, and Kinsey's skepticism about Anubis' pending attack isn't making any friends. Even when Dr. Weir says that we should proceed with the assumption that the threat is real, Daniel's response shows he doesn't think she understands the enormity of the threat. And her question about whether they can negotiate something is so absurd to O'Neill, he starts slipping ancient into his vocabulary. But that suggests the whole Find the Lost City plan is the best way forward, to Kinsey's continued skepticism. But after a back and forth, Dr. Weir says that if O'Neill knows the location of the Lost City, she'll consider allowing them through the Stargate to go there and hopefully bring back something helpful. And speaking of which, Teal'c plans to go with Braytech to try and bring ships and warriors to protect the Earth. We'll probably need the help. Well, in private, a furious Kinsey stomps into Weir's office after her to ream her out over her decision. But she will not sign for delivery on his crate of bullshit.
This is my office. This is my chair. Until someone tells me otherwise, I'm going to make decisions as I see fit, not as they fit into your agenda.
You have no idea what my agenda is.
Whatever!
I'm saving the world. I'm not interested in the nuances of your political goals. Now piss off and go and form a camera of what the vice president thinks so the American people can do what they always do when that happens and ignore you. But O'Neill says his goodbye to Teal'c, knowing that it might be for the last time, and leading us into part 2, which we'll get to on Thursday.